Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Kurt on Cougs. This is the warm-up for the BYU versus Baylor game. So, yeah. Of course, start with huge game for the Cougs and the Bears. BYU comes in undefeated, 4-0, number 22 in the nation, lots of momentum. Lots of people are asking, is this team for real? Are they really, a team that can make some noise here in the Big 12? So, of course, we're going to get those questions answered today. But first, we're going to kind of take a look around the nation today. And in my mind, there's three games that just stand out as the big ones. And those are Alabama, Georgia. I think that one's huge. That's a big game. Game of the season. It's not crazy to call it that. It could be just that. So, yeah, Alabama, Georgia. Then you got Notre Dame, Louisville. With high potential, that game could play into who makes it into the college football playoff at the end of the year. So, very important game there. And then you also got Kansas State taking on Oklahoma State. Both teams are 0-1 in Big 12 play. And especially taking two losses in the first 2 weeks of conference play could be really detrimental to either their chances of making the playoffs. So yeah, these three games, huge. CFP, ties to the CFP on the line, like it's going to be big. And so here's my predictions for those games. First of all, Alabama, Georgia. Georgia, once again, looking like one of the top teams in the nation. But they have to go on the road for this one against an Alabama team that's looked pretty good. I forgot who it was, but I know that early in the season, Alabama did struggle early a little bit against, I think it might have been USF. So that does give me a little concern for the Crimson Tide, but once again, the game was a while ago, and Georgia themselves had a more concerning performance as they won 13-12, an ugly match, won against Kentucky. So, yeah, I think that both teams, there's definitely places in the resume you could poke holes in. But overall, both are undefeated. And in the day, my pick goes to the Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, I think they will beat the Bulldogs. This is a home game. Two good teams. I think that having it in Tuscaloosa is gonna lead to Alabama winning. And then for Notre Dame, Louisville, big game there. At least as far as I've followed, I don't think Louisville has really played any big opponents yet. Of course, Notre Dame played against Texas A&M, won that game pretty well. So, yeah, of course, though, also that loss to Northern Illinois is pretty concerning. And I feel like at this point, the fashionable pick might be to go with Louisville, as Notre Dame, had that recent stumble. But I'm going with the Fighting Irish. I think that this team is really good. And despite that tough loss to Northern Illinois, I think they continue to bounce back with a win over the Cardinals. And then, of course, you got Kansas State versus Oklahoma State. And another big game. Quite honestly, probably whoever loses that game would have a very tough battle to make the conference championship game or the CFP, which is crazy because both of these teams coming into the season were favorites. Like, for me, they were my top two favorites to win the conference. So, yeah, a lot on the line. Still, though, I think that K-State, they got this as a home game. That team is really good. Avery Johnson has a lot of talent. And I think they pull this one out and get to 500 in league play. Now, looking around other BYU sports. Earlier this week, the latest games I'm aware of were, I think, Thursday night, both BYU women's soccer and volleyball played. Overall, pretty good results. Women's soccer draws 2-2 with Oklahoma State. Of course, would love the win. Apparently, there was a potential handball within the final 10 seconds of the game, deep in Oklahoma State territory. That could have changed the game. Wasn't called. Either way, it's a draw for the Cougs. I feel like this team has shown some good signs. Of course, they've had some tough losses, but I think they're going to figure it out. And then women's volleyball, early on, it was pretty close. As a matter of fact, most of the sets were close, but they win the final 2 sets against Colorado to win that game at 3-1. So yeah, BYU women's volleyball taking another dub. I think they're legit. They got a chance to make some noise this year. All right, and so then, of course, moving on to, today's game. Big one for BYU. This is the game of, can you keep up the momentum for Baylor? They're coming off a heartbreaking loss. They're really tough. This is a home game for Baylor, so they're going to be up for this. They're going to have that crowd rocking. And so, yeah, big game. Now, of course, coming in, BYU, surprisingly, is a 3.5-point underdog. Although this line is surprising to me, I can somewhat see where they're coming from. Because after all, I feel like a lot of what's going into this is that the odds makers are looking at how BYU did last year. I feel like that's definitely a factor. Because quite honestly, I think if they had gotten 7-5, 8-4 last year, I think they come into this one definitely favored. But I feel like, it's easy to at this point kind of sort of see that Kansas State win as a sort of anomaly potentially. Now, of course, though, if BYU can back it up with more solid performances, then that shows that they are the real deal, which is what I believe. But I could definitely see where the critics may not see it just yet. So deciding factors in this game. One big one for the Cougs, I think, is going to be stopping Baylor's running attack. This team knows how to run the ball pretty well, and that's their main form of offense. So you got to get some stops, especially after what happened against K-State last week. They showed some weakness in that area, and so yeah, you got to do that. And then next up, I'm going to say, I think they need to win the battle on the offensive line. That was something that, especially early in the Kansas State game last week, was looking a little concerning. Kansas State was really winning at the line, which was, of course, tough for the... where are my words? Yeah. Which, of course, made it tough early in the game. And so I think they need to win at the line. Got to give Jake time to throw. Let him have a good pocket. We've seen when he throws from a clean pocket, he typically throws really well. So that's going to be important. And then my last deciding factor for today, I think, is being able to control the big plays. Especially, just overall in Big 12 play. There's a lot of teams that can go toe-to-toe, but oftentimes the teams that win, they're the ones that get the takeaways. They're the ones that get the deep bombs, the long runs. I think that's what the Cougars need. You gotta keep those big plays. Can't have too many miscues. And if they do all three of these things, I think they're going to win this game. And so then, my score prediction for this one, as you can probably guess, I think that BYU, despite not being favored, probably is going to win this one. So yeah, let's go Cougs. I got this game being decided in a close one, 24-20. So I think they're going to slug it out, come out with the victory. And my bold prediction for today's game is that BYU will, in back-to-back weeks, so last week, of course, against Kansas State, forced 3 turnovers. I think they forced 3 more. And yeah, come out there with the dub. So yeah, just about T-minus 40 minutes until kickoff. Let's go Cougs.